والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. وقل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قل أندعو من دون الله ما لا ينفعنا ولا يضرنا ونرد على أعقابنا بعد إذ هدانا الله كالذي استهوته الشياطين في الأرض حيران وأصحاب يدعونه إلى الهدى ائتنا قل إن هدى الله هو الهدى وأمرنا لنسلم لرب العالمين وأن الصلاة واتقوه وهو الذي إليه تحشرون وهو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق ويوم يقول كن فيكون قوله الحق وله الملك يوم ينفخ في الصور عالم الغيب والشهادة وهو الحكيم الخبير. صدق الله العظيم. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after addressing the Prophet ﷺ and his ummah to avoid the company of the people whose belief and character, behavior has deviated far off the track, to further announce that what is the track, what is the path of guidance. قُلْ أَنَدْعُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُنَا وَلَا يَضُرُّنَا. Say, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, should we call to those other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَا لَا يَنْفَعُنَا وَلَا يَضُرُّنَا, what will not help us and will not hurt us, which has no power to help us or to come to our assistance or to hurt us. And that actually, it's not only the idols which are taken to, the deities that are taken very manifestly as objects of ritual worship, like the idols that were in Makkah or the idols that are in other countries that people set up as deities, but also any other of the creation. It actually encompasses all the creation where we think that benefit or harm comes from. Benefit and harm comes from none of the creation. It's all creation. It's totally unable to come to the assistance or come to the detriment of anyone except by the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So should we supplicate with that kind of hope, with that kind of expectation towards anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which cannot help us, it cannot hurt us? وَنُرَدُّ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِنَا, and we should turn back on our heels after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us. بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَانَ اللَّهُ. So obviously, after being guided towards Islam and Tawheed and become aware of where does all the power come from, where is the origin of all things, and who has power and control over all things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after we've been guided to worship Him and believe in Him and follow the straight path that He has sent, should we turn back on it and worship other than Allah, hope from other than Allah, fear from other than Allah? So now this vivid, sort of picture of the person who would have done so, a person who has been guided towards Islam, who came towards Islam, who has been shown Islam, and is following that track, and then he deviates off of that track, as the mushriks of Makkah and the polytheists of the world up until the Day of Judgment. In other words, those who take other than Allah as their deity, whether it's stones or rocks or suns or moons or businesses or governments or armies or whatever it might be. So once knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing His attributes, knowing His names, and believing in His tawheed, and turning towards Him in supplication, so we turn towards other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like the one, كَالَّذِي اسْتَهْوَتُ الشَّيَاطِينُ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَيْرَانٍ. Allahu Akbar. How to explain this in English is, I think, it's impossible to really capture the power of these words. But stahwatu shayateen, the shayateen have overpowered him, they've enticed him, they've bemuddled him, and they've just overpowered him, like somebody, if we've seen that, or we might have heard of, or we might have seen, that shayateen and jinn have overpowered them, and they've lost their senses, they've lost their balance, they've lost their sense of direction, taken off the track, into some distant place, distant world, wilderness, unknown, not knowing where one is, no one knowing who is this person, totally cut off from all means of assistance and all means of guidance and all means of things that he knows and he's familiar with. Allahu Akbar. So such, like a person who's such, the shayateen have just taken him off into a wilderness, into some unknown land, wandering about in hayran, fil ardi hayran, totally bewildered, befuddled. While the fact is that there are his friends and his well-wishers are calling him, come to us, come to the right way. He's wandering off into the wilderness, totally lost and unable to heed those his well-wishers who are calling him towards the path. Allahu Akbar. قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ. So say that the guidance of Allah, that is the guidance. Inna huda Allah, the guidance of Allah, that is the guidance. Everything else is obviously misguidance. وَأُمِرْنَا لِنُسْلِمِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. What have we been ordered to? We've been ordered to submit, surrender to the Lord of the worlds. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّقُوهُ, and to establish salat and to observe taqwa, وَاتَّقُوهُ, establish taqwa, observe taqwa, live a life of taqwa. وَهُوَ الَّذِي إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ, and He is the one to whom we will ultimately be turned back, and we will all, you will all, and we will all, the entire creation will be returned for accountability. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ. And of course, again, substantiating how is that possible? It's very easy for Him, since He's the one, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ, who has created the heavens and the earth, and in truth, and in justice, and for reason, for an ultimate, and for an ultimate end. وَيَوْمَ يَقُولُ كُن فَيَكُونُ, and the day that He will say, be, and it is. قَوْلُهُ الْحَقِّ, His speech, His saying is truth. It is to be the only and the ultimate reality. وَلَهُ الْمُلْكِ يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ, and to Him is the kingdom and ownership on the day in which the horn will be blown, Israfil, when he blows the horn. So one may say, well, the mulk was always His. Well, before that day, people tend to think that something is mine. This is me. It's mine. It's my house. It's my money. It's my business. It's my right, etc. On that day, it will become manifest that all ownership, all kingdom, it all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exclusively. No one has any share therein. Alimul ghaybi wa shahada, the one who knows the unseen as well as the seen and the manifest. Wa huwa al-hakim al-khabir. He is the all-wise and He is the all-informed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the spirit and the real essence of Tawheed, and live a life of Tawheed and submission and surrender to it for the entirety of our existence. Ameen. Akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillah.